Hello and welcome to Wildlife Camp. Magnificent male impala, looking in very good condition. Most of the animals are in quite good condition despite the lack of rainfall. It's been trying very hard to rain this week. On Thursday night, Sunday and Monday we had storms. There was thunder and lightning, but in the end it produced about 2 millimeters of rain. So it doesn't look like we're going to get any significant rain before November. So the lions disappeared for a day or so before one of them returned. This was the thinner of the two males. He had a slight limp which seems to be getting better. And he has a very distinctive way of lying down to drink where he puts his paw under his chin. We've seen him do that a few times. And then the big day finally arrived when the baby toads left the pond. It took me by surprise because looking at the tadpoles I didn't see any that looked like they were about to leave, so obviously these ones were doing a good job of hiding away. And there's some fish just chilling out. They're much more comfortable at night. You can get an idea of how small they are. They're about the size of my little fingernail, maybe slightly smaller, and there's some more toads trying to make some new tadpoles. And it looked like quite a big event, not just for the ones who were leaving, but the ones who were remaining behind for now. They were all clustered on the edge of the pond, waggling around. Quite heartwarming to watch the little ones leave. They've spent months in the relative safety of the pond, and now they're heading off into a big scary world that's completely alien to them. And good old reliable Civet 1. She was the first civet that I identified years ago when I started trying to identify them, and still the most regular one. So on Sunday the weather wasn't great. It was quite cold and windy and overcast, so we did a day trip to Kruger Park, going in at Letaba Gate and then up to Letaba and back via the river. And we found a pair of sandgrouse doing their usual slow shuffle across the road. Probably very effective against predators, but not so effective against cars, but luckily they're quite visible, so we stopped and watched them. Not to be confused with the Nwanetsi down towards Satara. This is different Nwanetsi, and we found a couple of herds of buffalo. It was quite interesting to watch them because there were two or three herds of around 50, and they were taking turns at the nearby waterhole. So this lot had to wait a little bit while the first lot were having a drink. and a splash of colour in very dry brown bush. This is called a blood lily, and sometimes they pop up in clumps of several dozen, but this was just one on its own. After briefly stopping at Letaba, we carried on up the tar road towards the bridge, and we found this African open bull. Now they eat almost exclusively mollusks, so freshwater snails and mussels. And across the Letaba River and heading east, there's a hide that looks over the Engelhart Dam, so we spent quite a bit of time there watching the various animals, including this fish eagle. Quite a few of the hippos had scratches all over them. I'm not sure what that was from. I know the males do scar each other when they have their territorial fights, but these don't look like the sort of scratches caused by hippo teeth. Maybe they've been running through thorny thickets. And you can see a lot of oxpeckers on them. Now, oxpeckers, they do eat parasites, but it's really blood that they're after. And they will often open up wounds on animals and drink the blood. And as you can see, the hippos don't like that very much, and they kept trying to chase them off. And going back across the bridge onto the south side of the Letaba River and along the Mingehout Road, a couple of sleeping lions, 2 males, very well fed and very sleepy. It can be difficult to get comfortable when you have a full belly, so it turns out lying on your back is the best position. A little further down the road we had a fun encounter with this breeding herd of elephants. They were a little bit put out by the car that was parked on the side there, but eventually they moved past it and came straight towards us. Now moving south away from the river, you go across a drainage line which always has water in, no matter what time of year, no matter how dry it is. There seems to be a natural spring somewhere which feeds this watercourse, which eventually goes into the Letaba River. And then on the way out we found this korhan. They're very common in Kruger Park and they're often found walking right next to the road. This is about as close as impalas get to sleeping. When they're chewing the cud, they go into a semi-trance-like state. They can't afford to go into deep sleep, so this is as good as it gets for them. So the mating pair of lions had obviously been hanging around, although we hadn't seen them for a few days, and then on Sunday night they came in for a drink before moving off. And he's lost a bit of weight over the last few days. And the brother with the limp came in about 20 minutes later, so still looking for them, but he was so close, I'm sure he must have found them eventually. He was a bit too close to the camera there, so the microphone couldn't handle the incredible volume of his roar. following night a couple of hyenas came in, but they weren't interested in drinking. They were just sniffing around where the lion had scent marked the night before. You've got about 10 seconds to guess what this animal is before it comes for a drink on the right hand side. So a honey badger, which is something we haven't had for a little while. That shaded part in the bottom corner there is going to annoy me, but I'm not sure what I can do about it at the moment. These 4 double-banded sandgrouse were enjoying a nice quiet evening drink before one of them decided to clown around and ruin it for everyone. And then the elephants are back. It's been a while since we had any females and youngsters. It's been almost exclusively lone males for about 2 months, but on Wednesday night and now this morning there have been stacks of elephants around. Thanks for watching.